Let's dive right in. When a total disaster slams into your business, I'm talking a fire, a flood, a massive cyber attack, what's left over looks a lot like a crime scene. Seriously, it's chaotic, it's confusing, and there's critical evidence that could be lost forever. And just like a real crime scene, the only way you're going to get through it is with a solid investigation and a crystal clear plan.
Now, for way too many businesses, their official disaster recovery plan pretty much looks like this. It's funny because it feels so true, right? That feeling of pure panic and helplessness. But here's the thing. Panic is the one thing you absolutely cannot afford when the sirens are wailing right outside your building.
So I want you to imagine this. Put yourself in Susan's shoes. You're the IT supervisor just pulling into the parking lot for another regular day. Except, it's not. The place is swarming. It's not an office building anymore. It's an active incident zone. Now, your first gut reaction might be to freak out. But if you have a plan, this is the exact moment your training kicks in. This is where the investigation begins.
See, this isn't just a really bad day at the office. This is the moment a formal line gets crossed. Declaring a disaster is that official trigger. It's the signal that shifts the entire organization from normal problem-solving mode into a structured emergency response. It's basically the call that assembles the investigators.
And there it is, the command that sets everything into motion. Declare a disaster. Just two simple words, but they unleash this whole complex, pre-planned chain of events. This is the exact moment the playbook gets opened and the response teams are officially on the clock. So what's in this playbook they're about to use?
Well, it's called the Disaster Recovery Plan, or DR Plan for short. And this is not about winging it. Nope. It's a formal, documented strategy for how you prepare for and how you recover from a major crisis. Think of it as the official case file that tells everyone on the team exactly what their role is in the investigation and the recovery.
And you can't run an investigation without a team, right? A disaster recovery isn't handled by one person heroically saving the day. It's managed by a whole squad of specialists, all picked out beforehand, and each one with a critical role to play. So think of it less like a frantic mob and more like a major case squad arriving on the scene, ready to go.
First up, you've got your lead detectives, the disaster management team. This is your command and control center. They're the ones calling the shots, coordinating the whole effort, and making those big-picture strategic decisions to guide the investigation.
You know how every big case has that one person speaking at the press conference? Well, that's your communications team. They're like the public information officers, managing the story and making sure there is one clear, consistent voice talking to employees, the media, maybe even law enforcement. It prevents rumors and total confusion.
Now, these folks, think of them as your crime scene technicians. They're the tech specialists who get their hands dirty with the actual hardware. Their job is to get in there and recover the physical computers, the servers, all the digital evidence that might be salvageable from the scene. And this is where the whole crime scene analogy just clicks perfectly. The damage assessment and salvage team, they are literally your forensics unit. They are the first ones allowed in, carefully examining the scene, figuring out just how bad the damage is, and reporting back on what can actually be saved. Their first report is absolutely critical for the rest of the recovery. And finally, you've got the logistics pros, the vendor contact team. These are the people working the phones non-stop, calling suppliers, getting replacement gear and services ordered immediately. They make sure the whole investigative team has every single tool it needs to rebuild. Okay, so the team of specialists is assembled. They're on site. But what are their orders? What are their operating procedures? They don't just improvise. No way. They follow a super detailed, pre-written playbook that guides every single move they make. So, let's open it up. A lot of the time, that playbook is built on a proven methodology, like this one from NIST. That's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. This isn't just some random checklist someone made up. It's a really comprehensive framework for how you create a plan, how you test it, and how you keep it up to date.
And this right here illustrates the core logic of any good plan. It boils everything down to three simple, common-sense phases. What do you do to get ready before disaster ever hits? What are your immediate actions during the crisis? And what are the methodical steps you take after the immediate danger is gone?
All right, let's actually break down what happens in each of these crucial phases. This is where the theory of the plan turns into concrete, real-world actions for your investigation squad. Before a crime even happens, good detectives are already doing their homework. It's the exact same idea here. The before phase is all about prep work,
Training your employees with drills, securing your evidence with data backups in multiple locations, getting agreements with suppliers locked down, and having the right insurance. This is the intelligence gathering that makes a successful response even possible.
The second that call comes in, the response is immediate and it is structured. This is not chaos. Within just 15 minutes of the disaster being declared, the alert roster is activated. Within the hour, the management team is meeting. And within 2 hours, your forensics unit, the damage assessment team, is already on site, starting its investigation. This is the golden hour.
Okay, so after the fire is out, or the attack has been stopped, the real investigation starts. You methodically assess the scene, you salvage any evidence and assets you possibly can, you start the painstaking process of restoring your most critical systems, and, this is so important, you review how your own team performed so you can learn for next time.
And why is all this so critical? Because this is what's at stake. This is your evidence. A hard drive might seem like a solid block of metal, but a disaster can turn it into a useless paperweight in a split second. And that one piece of destroyed metal, that could hold your company's entire financial history, all your customer lists, everything. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, I have backups. But hold on, look at this. Even something like a backup CD, which is designed for storage, can be totally destroyed by something as common as heat from a fire. This just drives home the point that your off-site and cloud backups aren't just a nice idea, they are absolutely essential to the case.
So, we've seen the plan, we've met the teams, but what happens when the investigation fails? What is the real, tangible cost of being unprepared? Let me tell you, the numbers are just staggering.
Let's start right here. Some estimates put the cost of unplanned downtime at over $17,000. That's not per day, it's not per hour, that is per minute. The financial clock starts ticking the second that disaster strikes.
And this one right here, this is the most chilling statistic of all. This is the ultimate price of a failed investigation. A staggering 93% of companies that suffer a major data disaster are out of business within 1 year. It is a straight-up existential threat.
And yet, even with stakes that high, nearly a quarter of companies admit they never even test their plan. I mean, think about that. That's like having a forensics team that has never once run a drill or processed a mock crime scene. A plan that only exists on paper is completely useless when the pressure is on.
So, the evidence we've looked at today is pretty conclusive. A tested, ready-to-go disaster recovery plan isn't just good business. It is the bright, shining line between recovery and ruin. It's what turns a catastrophe into a manageable case. So the only question left is, when that call comes in, will your team be ready for the investigation?